Tell us more about the White Sox, Brad, because they're a friggin' dumpster fire right now.
Yeah, so not only do they have a guy who's likely concussed playing shortstop for him tonight, there is a bigger mess going on in that clubhouse. In case you didn't guess, all that talent and not winning very many games, there are some problems there.
Yeah.
So, reliever Keenan Middleton was traded to the Yankees. That's the only move the Yankees made during the trade deadline.
Bro.
I think we
I know
talked.
I'm watching Giancarlo about to friggin' strike out again.
0 for 6 yesterday. Didn't hit a homer for me. I was very upset. But anyway, so Keenan Middleton ripped the lack of discipline and the terrible culture after being traded to the Yankees. Said that there were rookies sleeping in the bullpen. Nobody gets punished for missing meetings. Basically, it sounds like it's anarchy in that clubhouse. That Grifol is not. He just doesn't really care, right?
Whoa.
Or anybody else really cares. Which you create an environment and a culture where nobody cares. Nobody has to care. Nobody's gonna care.
Oh, yeah.
They're just out there collecting their checks, right? Like you would think that there's a certain level of professional integrity and some pride, but when you're getting paid that much, you don't have to have that.
People are still people. Human nature is still human nature.
Exactly right, for sure. And then this story I found on Instagram today. I didn't see if it was a day or so old, but this is per Shane Riordan. 670 the score in Chicago, also a Flavortown senator, according to him on Twitter, X. He said that Yasmani Grandal wasn't in the lineup the day before the All-Star break and said he didn't want to be there, so he wanted to take off a day early. And Tim Anderson, sounded like he was in the tub soaking, said, bleep him. If he doesn't want to be here, I'll pay for his flight. Grandal walked over to him in the tub and slapped him across the face. So there are issues on the field, big-time issues in the clubhouse. At the trade deadline in a Mariners group on Facebook, I mean, there's a lot of people like, man, trade for Tim Anderson. And somebody goes, why? He's having the worst year of his career. I said, yeah, because he's disgruntled. Yeah, I think that's what all this has come down to. You get him in an environment where he's motivated to win and play hard. I think we'll see the Tim Anderson that we know and love, not this guy who's picking fights and getting knocked out.
Yep.
Although I think Jeff Zmarja did, and who was it? I want to say Mike Moore, but I don't think that's right. Ended somebody's career by inadvertently punching a teammate during a brawl. So I hope it doesn't happen, but it is possible that he might not be able to come back from if they ever diagnose him with a concussion that he likely has. So
here's my thing on this, and then we can move on past the White Sox. I think that if I were Grifol, I didn't know all that until just now about the discipline problems and the nobody going to meetings and nobody caring, and that's bad. However, let's say that it was not the case, and if I was Grifol and I had that club, I would establish a certain element of control. Obviously, you'd have to,
right?
But then I would probably lean all the way into the bad boy knock around guy mentality. And I would probably let them, like if a fight broke out on the field, I'd be like, that's who we are, man. Get over it. And I would take my slaps, take my suspensions. We'd pay the fines. I wouldn't care. And I'll bet you something like that, some identity driving clubhouse motif or whatever we're going to call it would really light a fire under this team. That's all they need. They just need some little some juice.
Something to rally around. It doesn't seem like there's anything.
Yeah, and they could be great. Yeah. And I don't know why Grifol can't pull it together. He couldn't bring anybody back. He could have asked for some of those guys to come back, specifically Jose Abreu, and he didn't even make the phone call. So
yeah. It seems like he's just a guy who doesn't really know how to lead a clubhouse. And if the White Sox, because he's obviously a major part of the problem. I don't want to say he's the entire problem, but he's a big part of the problem.
For sure.
And I think that if the White Sox have any sense of wanting to win in the future, he won't be back next year. They're gonna have to get rid of him. Yeah. He seems like he's gotten to be a bigger problem than Ollie Marmol in St. Louis.
Whoa, jeez. At least in St. Louis, we know that there's trouble in paradise, and everybody's like, all right, whatever. We're just going to figure it out. But there's so much angst And maybe there still is in St. Louis. I don't know. But in Chicago, there's so much just anger. It's very clear. It was clear before
Yeah.
the fight broke out. Anyway.
Yeah. Very tense there.